The last thing we can show is panic or excitement or fear or anything else. We had to take care of the situation we were given.
Hi. How's the new house?
Good. Can you come over?
I can't. Are you okay?
I am going to die tomorrow.
So I am user FatController555, and I sent some anarchist memes to user DankyKang, an unreformed extremist Stalinist, and he completely lost it. He couldn't control his anger and ended up making 3 videos character assassinating me and attacking the disabled community. Great work for a supposed socialist, huh? I mean, what an unremitting bigot and supreme hypocrite. Oh well, we all know that Stalin put over 250,000 disabled veterans into gulags in the 1940s and 1950s, so no surprise there. All these socialists are no better than their once allies, the National Socialist. What a shithead DankyKang is.
Amy! What is going on? There is no tomorrow for me.
Alright, listen, Amy, I'm really freaking out right now.
The communist DankyKang read my blog at the start of the pandemic and completely lost it through his stupidity and ignorance. Being only a millennial southern hick from Tennessee who has never gone to university, Danky failed to realize I was talking about Event 201, a Bill and Melinda Gates-funded venture. This event took place in October 2019, 7 months before the outbreak of the contagion. It was a global, tabletop simulation of a coronavirus situation where it was projected over 10 million humans would die. It involved international government and business leaders in a role-play designed to control this imagined situation.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago. A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Gradually, farmers started getting sick. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia. The sickest required intensive care. Many died. Experts agree, unless it is quickly controlled, it could lead to a severe pandemic, an outbreak that circles the globe and affects people everywhere.
The mission of the Pandemic Emergency Board is to provide recommendations to deal with the major global challenges arising in response to an unfolding pandemic. The board is comprised of highly experienced leaders from business, public health, and civil society.
We could be looking at double the number of cases in 1 week and 16 times as many in a month if we are not able to stop the spread. That would be on the order of 500,000 cases, and it would continue to rise exponentially. In 3 months, we could be approaching 10 million cases.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
DankyKang also completely lost it over my display of an ancient classical Greek 20-sided dice inscribed with Greek symbols. The communist DankyKang claimed that I must be mentally ill to suggest that these dice either existed in the first place or were used to select secret societies or be used for divination. Yet the world-famous museum, the Met, suggests otherwise in the following quote, astragals, or knucklebones have been found in the Hellenistic and Roman period from Egypt, and this has led to suggestions they were used for games. Another remarkable example discovered in Declay Oasis in Egypt in the 1980s records an Egyptian god's name in Demotic, the Egyptian script of these late periods, on each face. Divination, seeking advice about the unknown from the supernatural, seems to be the most likely purpose for the Declay die. The polyhedron might have been thrown in order to determine a god who might assist the practitioner. Indeed, even the dice with simple letters might relate to divination. A Greek oracle book composed in the 2nd or 3rd century AD refers to throwing lots to obtain a number that would, through certain algorithms, lead to ready-prepared oracle questions and responses. Commissar DankyKang is just an ill-educated, commie wanker who has not opened a book or attended a lecture. FatController555 here, people. Just wondering. Commissar Denki Kang claims he can detect mental unsoundness in me, just like what happened in the Soviet gulags and psychiatric hospitals. Denki Kang claims he can do this by analyzing my memes that he clearly does not understand. The actual Greek dice meme was comment on anarchism and the true, etymological definition of anarchy. This Greek etymological definition is that of being a status free of clubs and secret societies. I would say that my aspiring for anarchism is a very good state of affairs. This is especially so when one considers that Bill Gates' international event 201 incorporates one of its secretive businesses into its commercial club of vaccines and pandemics, and that business is Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson is currently and desperately attempting to settle out of court many class actions for cancer. This has been caused by asbestos in their baby talc powder, sold for decades to an unsuspecting public with Johnson & Johnson's connivance. With umbrella organizations like the Bohemian Club on the west coast of America and Yale Skull and Bones Fraternity on the east coast of the states, one can't help but ask who is rolling the dice in these simulations and models of power in our community, so apparently controlled by secret societies and clubs of the rich and elite.
So the policy crisis in question for this board in this meeting is this. How should governments, business, and international organizations allocate and distribute pandemic antivirals and medical supplies to the people who need them most?
What we've seen work very well in the HIV field is, in fact, procurement through the Global Fund. So having a centralized mechanism, so financially able to procure on behalf of affected countries will be critical. I think the second thing is it's going to be very important that for the business sector, for manufacturers of antivirals, that we have clarity around what the need is and where the need is and who are making the decisions.
Hey, Commissar Denki Kang, you call yourself a scientific socialist. All I see is a millennial southern hick with little education. You don't even know of the common medical fact of the placebo effect, used in all medical testing including in vaccines. Gosh, are you ill-educated? You have not heard of psychogenic death, which is the binary opposite of a placebo and also known as a nocebo. Whereas the word placebo means I will pleasure, the word nocebo means I will harm. Both are inert substances that depend upon the recipient's mind to either healing or damage to the body. This is known as the psychosomatic or the mind-body relationship. You're a socialist. Then why do you want to hit the slots at Vegas rather than do the hard work on the vagus nerve and learning about it? Denki Kang, you second-rate intellectual.
I feel like you put this idea of dying in my head. Can you just call me back?
You expecting someone?
Hi, Jane.
You okay?
I just have this feeling I'm going to die tomorrow.
But how do you know?
I just know.
Okay, so you don't know. What is going on?
Of course, Commissar Denki Kang is totally incorrect yet again about the Pokemon incident that he seems so proud about having some knowledge of. In fact, the Pokemon Cyber Soldier episodes concluded over 2 successive nights in Japan, and it was found that the children involved communicated with each other via internet, mobile phone, and at school the following day. During this gossiping, the rumors spread of the very isolated incidents of actual seizure from the initial night's episode. So, actually, very few children suffered from the real seizure effect, and the rest merely suffered from an hysterical reaction, it is now believed.
But we don't want to instill panic. We don't want to jump up and down and start shouting that we have a problem that is a tremendous problem, scare everybody. And
Birthday to you. Happy birthday.
I just thought for a second when the lights went out that was it.
She could be right.
You're worried about catching something?
the last thing we can show is panic or excitement or fear or anything else. We had to take care of the situation we were given.
Despite what Commissar Denki Kang's desperate socialist propaganda said about my blog, what I was alluding to with the Event 201 simulation by Bill Gates is similar to what is known as sympathetic magic. Proposed by Sir James Frazer in his epic work on magic and mythology, The Golden Bough at the turn of the 20th century. Frazer defines sympathetic magic as having 2 subcategories, similarity and contagion. From the first of these principles, namely the law of similarity, The magician infers that he can produce any effect he desires merely by imitating it. From the second, he infers that whatever he does to a material object will affect equally the person with whom the object was once in contact, whether it formed part of his body or not. What Commissar Danke, the stupid socialist, did not realize was that the blog was theorizing about sympathetic contagion and the coronavirus vis-a-vis nocebo. Put simply, like the Hollywood digital feature, She Dies Tomorrow, my blog was asking, is fear contagious and can we scare ourselves to death? And this is a well-known medical fact that was studied by Dr. Walter Cannon in 1943 for the U.S. Army. Cannon termed the phenomenon voodoo death magic.
Really bad is gonna happen.
I'm ready. She did this. I'm not ready.
Well, I think that's really a big part of trust. We have to have leadership. We have to show leadership. And the last thing you want to do is create a panic in the country. This was a horrible thing. It was sent to us by China. Should not have happened. Should never have happened. This is a disgusting, terrible situation that was foisted upon us. And we have to show, we just don't want to use, the best word is panic. We don't want to have to show panic. We're not going to show panic. And that's exactly what I did. And I was very open, whether it's to Woodward or anybody else. It's just another political hit job. But whether it was Woodward or anybody else, you cannot show a sense of panic or you're going to have bigger problems than you ever had before. Please.
Voodoo death, a term coined by Walter Cannon in 1942, also known as psychogenic death or psychosomatic death, is the phenomenon of sudden death as brought about by a strong emotional shock, such as fear. The anomaly is recognized as psychosomatic in that death is caused by an emotional response, often fear, to some suggested outside force. Voodoo death is particularly noted in native societies and concentration or prisoner of war camps, but the condition is not specific to any particular culture. In 1942, Walter Bradford Cannon, MD, now looked to as a forerunner in modern physiological psychology, published a work wherein he postulated the idea that fear could affect a person to the point that their physical condition would deteriorate in response to psychological distress. Citing examples of extraordinary deaths and their extraneous circumstances in Aboriginal societies, Cannon posited the idea that fear of supernatural consequences to broken societal taboos caused the deaths witnessed in the natives. What Cannon describes has since been termed bone-pointing syndrome, wherein an individual receives some sort of shock, often the breaking of some social/religious taboo, that he interprets as an ill omen for himself. His physical condition then deteriorates at a rapid rate, and he dies within a period as short as 24 hours after the initial shock. Cannon discusses the example of a Maori woman who learned that the fruit she had eaten came from a tabooed place. Less than 24 hours later she was dead. Conversely, Cannon also shares the example of a young man who had fallen ill when the local witch doctor had pointed a bone at him, a societal taboo that meant a curse of death. However, when the perpetrator explained to the young man that the whole thing had been a mistake, and that no bone had been pointed at him at all, the young man's health returned instantly. Cannon notes the similarities in each case. The individuals were both members of a society where beliefs in the supernatural are fiercely upheld, and both had suffered what they both believed to be some form of a curse as dictated within their personal beliefs. Also, the individuals shared similar physical symptoms. And yet, in the case of the young man, once the cause for the psychological distress was removed, his mysterious illness disappeared. Cannon attributes these rather drastic physical repercussions as the workings of the emotion fear upon the mind, which then leads to destruction of the physical condition.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
Sure, I want you to
I
be.
wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.